Hello, this is the section 3.5 lesson. In this short section we're going to talk about how to add and subtract negative numbers. Now in this lesson we're going to ask several questions and try to answer them. The first question is, how do we add and subtract negative numbers? The second question is, why do these methods for adding and subtracting negative numbers work? The third question is, why would we add and subtract negative numbers in the first place? And the last question is, what more could we do with these results that we talk about? Now in this lesson we're going to focus more on questions 1, 3, and 4. We're going to leave the answer to question 2 to the textbook. So the first question is, how do we add and subtract negative numbers? Well, the algorithms for how to add and subtract are fairly simple. The first one here says that a plus a negative number b is the same as a minus b. So basically we can convert this addition into a subtraction, take a minus b, we're all done. The second rule says that if we start off with a negative number and then add a positive number, we can first of all switch these around to get b plus a negative a, and then we can use our first property up here to write this as b minus a. So in other words, if we take a negative number plus a positive number, that's just the same as subtracting the two numbers. The third one says if we take a minus a negative number b, we can think of this as though those negative signs cancel off and they turn into a positive sign. And so this is the same as a plus b. Now the next question is, why do these methods work? And again, we're not going to discuss this in this lesson. We're going to leave this to reading of the textbook. Well, the next question is, why would we want to add and subtract negative numbers in the first place? Well, to try to answer this question, we are going to look at a few word problems. And here's our first one. In an underground parking garage, Marcus parked his car on the 5th level below ground. Marcus then walked up 3 levels to meet Sam. On what level below ground did Marcus and Sam meet? So notice that it says that Marcus parked his level on the 5th level below ground. So we're below ground, we could think of that as a negative number. He then walked up 3 levels. So he walked up, we could think of that as adding 3, and that's going to give us where we ended. And so we're going to start off with a negative 5. That's where we started below ground. And then we're going to add 3. And so here we go. Here's our problem. This is how we could solve the problem using arithmetic. We're going to start off with a negative number, add a positive number. Now we just need to do this arithmetic. Well, by our properties we just talked about, I could write this as 3 minus 5. And then I can do this subtraction. This is negative 2. And so the fact that this answer is negative means that we did meet below ground. Well, that's exactly what we would expect. And so our final answer here, we would meet on the 2nd level below ground. There's our answer. Now our second problem here doesn't have anything to do with negative numbers, but we're going to use this to illustrate how we solve our next problem, which does involve negative numbers. So it says Mary has 12 teddy bears, Anna has 5 teddy bears. How many more teddy bears does Mary have than Anna? Now we could probably look at this and say, oh, the answer is obviously 7. Well, let's think about how we got that answer using arithmetic. So we have Mary has 12 bears, Anna has 5 teddy bears, and the question is how many more? So this is what we would call a comparison problem. A comparison story problem, where we want to compare two quantities. Well, to do a comparison story problem, all we need to do is take our bigger quantity, 12, and subtract the smaller quantity, 5. And so we take 12 minus 5, we do that arithmetic, and the answer is 7. Okay. So the point here is that when we have a comparison story problem, we take the bigger quantity, subtract the smaller quantity, and we're all done. So let's apply this idea to our next problem. The temperature in Seward is 5 degrees Celsius. In Lincoln the temperature is negative 3 degrees Celsius. How much warmer is the temperature in Seward than in Lincoln? Okay. So the question is how much warmer? This is another comparison problem. And so we're going to solve this in the same way as the previous problem. We're going to take our big quantity minus the small quantity. Well, here we want to compare these two temperatures. The bigger temperature is 5 degrees. The smaller temperature is -3 degrees. And so to solve this, we're going to take our big temperature, 5, minus the small temperature, -3. So this problem involves subtracting negative numbers. And so now we can think of this as though the negative signs cancel off. And so we have 5 plus 3. We do that arithmetic, and we get our answer of 8. And so it is 8 degrees warmer in Seward than in Lincoln. So there's a problem involving subtraction of negative numbers. So now our next question is just what more can we do with these properties that we just talked about? Well, first let's review the commutative property of addition that we talked about in section 3.2. Now in our activity we illustrated that we need to add this qualifier that it's a commutative property of addition because there is no commutative property of subtraction. But here in a minute we'll see how we can get kind of a commutative property of subtraction. So the commutative property of addition looks like this, that A plus B is the same as B plus A, so the order doesn't matter. And so let's look at how we could apply this commutative property of addition to problems involving subtraction. So let's suppose that I wanted to do this arithmetic, 45 minus 9 plus 19 minus 15. Now there's several ways we could go about this. One way is to simply take 45 minus 9 and then add 19 and then subtract 15. That would be okay, but that arithmetic might get a little bit messy. Let's look at an easier way that we could do this. Well, if I look at these numbers, I see 45 minus 15. That arithmetic is pretty easy to do. And then likewise, the negative 9 plus 19, that arithmetic would be pretty easy to do. So what I might want to do is take 45 minus 15, and then 19 minus 9, and then add the results. And that would be fine, but let's talk about why that is true. What properties of arithmetic allow me to do this? Well, first of all, let's rewrite this problem. Instead of subtraction, let's write it as 45 plus a negative 9. And we can do this because of the property that we just talked about on our second slide here. We can think of subtraction as just an addition of negative numbers. And then we have plus 19. And then instead of minus 15, let's go plus a negative 15. So again, we've used this property from this first section, or from the first slide here. Now, because we're working with addition, we can rearrange these numbers however we want using the commutative property of addition. So let's write this as 45 plus a negative 15, and then plus 19 plus a negative 9. And so here we can do this because of the commutative property of addition. Because we've converted the number from the problem from subtraction to addition, we can use the commutative property of addition and rewrite things. Okay. Well, now let's look at how we can actually do this arithmetic. Well, let's convert back from addition to subtraction. So this is 45 minus 15 plus 19 minus 9. And so really what we're doing here is the opposite of what we did here. And so now we can do this arithmetic here, 45 minus 15, well that's easy to do in our head, that's just 30. And then plus 19 minus 9, well that's easy to do in our head, that's just 10. Now 30 plus 10 is equal to 40, and there's our final answer. So we see we see why we can do this arithmetic in the way we did it. We first converted from subtraction over to addition, and then we used the commutative property of addition to rearrange things however we wanted, and then we converted things back to subtraction. We did that arithmetic, which is very easy to do, and we got our final answer. So that's it for this lesson. Your assignment is to read section 3.5 from the textbook.